In a small alley of Manila, where the sound of tricycles mixed with the cries of vendors and children playing barefoot in the dust, there lived a man named Ramon Cruz. He was 32 years old, thin as a stick, with hair that looked like it had never seen a proper haircut, and eyes that told 1,000 untold stories. Ramon had been singing on the streets since he was a boy, holding nothing but an old guitar with one missing string and a voice that could stop anyone in their tracks. He sang not for fame, not for applause, but simply to survive. Every day he performed under the scorching sun, near the marketplace, hoping that passers-by would toss a few coins into his small rusty can. And every night, he returned to his small shack by the riverside where he lived alone, his only company an old radio that barely worked. Yet, in that loneliness, music kept him alive. Ramon's dream was simple, to sing on a real stage someday, in front of real people who would actually listen. But that dream felt far away, buried under layers of poverty and rejection. People would often walk past him, some smiling kindly, others mocking his tattered clothes or rough accent. But no matter what they said, Ramon sang with his soul, especially songs by the man he admired the most, Elvis Presley. He had learned every Elvis song by heart from his father, who was once a huge fan before he passed away when Ramon was just 10. His father used to say, "Son, when you sing Elvis, don't copy him, feel him." Those words stayed in his heart like an unbroken promise. Years passed, and life didn't get any kinder. The streets were unforgiving, and so were the nights when hunger would crawl through his stomach like fire. One evening, while Ramon was performing, Can't Help Falling in Love, on a corner near Quiapo Church, a tourist couple stopped and started recording him. They were from Ireland, visiting the Philippines for the first time. The man was impressed. "You sound amazing, mate," the Irish tourist said, smiling. "You should be on a show back home." Ramon laughed shyly. "I only sing here, sir. I'm just a street singer." But the tourist insisted, "I'm serious. Ireland's Got Talent is open this year. You could go viral." Ramon didn't even know what viral meant, but the thought of performing on a stage, even in another country, seemed impossible. Yet, fate had already started to move. The Irish couple uploaded the video of him singing Elvis on Facebook, and within days, it went viral, millions of views, comments pouring in from around the world. People couldn't believe that the man singing so perfectly, with such passion, was just a poor street singer from the Philippines. Soon, one of the Ireland's Got Talent producers saw the video and reached out through the couple who had filmed him. They wanted Ramon to audition for the show. At first, he thought it was a prank. "Me, fly to Ireland? No way," he said, laughing nervously. But after a few calls, it turned out to be true. The show offered to cover his travel expenses and accommodation, moved by his story and incredible voice. Ramon couldn't believe it. The night before his flight, he stood by the small river outside his shack, clutching his guitar. "Father," he whispered softly to the sky, "I'm going to sing on a real stage. I hope you're proud." When he arrived in Ireland, everything felt like another world: cold air, big buildings, lights everywhere. He had never left the Philippines before, and now he was about to stand in front of thousands of people and judges like Simon Cowell. The day of the audition came. Backstage, other contestants looked polished, confident, dressed in glittering clothes. Ramon stood there in a simple white shirt, worn-out jeans, and his old guitar. He felt out of place but tried to stay calm. A staff member asked gently, "Are you ready?" He nodded. As the stage doors opened and he walked out, the bright lights nearly blinded him. The audience fell silent for a second, confused by his humble appearance. Simon Cowell, sitting with his usual serious face, looked at him curiously. "Hello there," Simon said. "What's your name?" "My name is Ramon Cruz, sir," he replied nervously, his voice trembling. "And where are you from?" Simon asked. "I'm from the Philippines," Ramon said proudly, his accent thick but sincere. "What will you be singing for us today?" Ramon smiled softly. "An Elvis Presley song, sir, If I Can Dream." Simon raised an eyebrow. "That's a big song. You think you can handle Elvis?" Ramon nodded. "I'll try my best, sir. Elvis inspired my life." The crowd gave a polite clap as the music started. But the moment Ramon sang the first line, everything changed. There was power in his voice, raw, emotional, yet hauntingly beautiful. He didn't just sing, he lived the lyrics. His voice soared through the hall, trembling with truth and pain. The judges exchanged glances, surprised. Simon leaned forward, his eyes narrowing, as if he couldn't believe what he was hearing. As Ramon sang, the crowd fell into silence. It was no longer just a performance, it was a story, told through his soul. He hit every note perfectly, his voice echoing with passion and honesty. When he reached the chorus, people started cheering, rising to their feet. By the time he finished, there wasn't a single person sitting down. The entire audience was on their feet, clapping, screaming, crying. Ramon stood there, tears welling up in his eyes, holding his guitar close like it was his best friend. Simon Cowell, usually known for being hard to impress, stood up slowly and clapped. Then, with a rare smile, he said, "You know what, Ramon? I've heard thousands of singers try to do Elvis, but you," he paused for a moment, searching for the right words, "you might be the first person who made me feel like I was listening to the soul of Elvis himself. You're better than most Elvis impersonators I've ever seen." That was beautiful. The crowd roared. Amanda Holden wiped her tears and said, "That was one of the most emotional performances we've ever had. You made us feel your heart." Another judge added, "You're not just a singer, you're a storyteller. Every note you sang had meaning." Ramon couldn't stop crying. He covered his face with his hands as the audience chanted, "Golden buzzer. Golden buzzer." Simon looked around, smiled, and finally pressed it. The golden confetti exploded across the stage. Ramon fell to his knees, overwhelmed. His dream, the one he thought was impossible, had just come true. Backstage, as he hugged the hosts, he whispered, "Thank you, God. Thank you, Father." The video of his performance went viral instantly, not just in Ireland but across the entire world. Millions of people watched the poor Filipino man with the old guitar sing like the king himself. News outlets called him, the Filipino Elvis. Some said his voice had more heart than any superstar. But fame didn't change Ramon. Even when TV shows invited him, he remained humble, always giving credit to his late father and the people who supported him. He used his earnings to rebuild his small home in Manila and started a music school for poor children who dreamed of singing like him. Months later, during the finals of Ireland's Got Talent, Ramon was once again on stage. This time, he chose another Elvis song, "Suspicious Minds." The crowd cheered the moment he walked in. He wore a simple black suit, nothing flashy, but his confidence shone brighter than any outfit. Before singing, he said, "This song is for everyone who has ever been told they're not good enough. Don't stop believing. If I can stand here today, anyone can." As he performed, the audience danced, clapped, and sang along. Simon smiled from his seat, occasionally nodding his head to the beat. By the end, the crowd gave him another standing ovation. Though Ramon didn't win the grand prize that season, he won something greater, the world's respect and love. When the season ended, Simon personally met him backstage. "Ramon," Simon said sincerely, "I meant what I said before. You reminded me why I fell in love with music in the first place." Ramon smiled, his eyes full of gratitude. "Thank you, sir. That means everything to me." Simon replied, "Never lose that honesty in your voice. That's what makes you special." After the show, Ramon's journey didn't stop there. He toured across Ireland and even the UK, performing in local shows and charity concerts. Everywhere he went, people would stand up and sing along with him. One night, during a charity event in Dublin, he noticed a young boy watching him from backstage, holding a small ukulele. After the concert, the boy approached shyly and said, "Sir Ramon, my dad says you used to sing on the streets. Is that true?" Ramon smiled. "Yes, that's true. I sang on the streets for years." The boy looked amazed. "Then maybe I can sing too one day, even if we don't have money." Ramon knelt down and said softly, "Money doesn't make music, son. Your heart does. If you believe in your voice, no one can take it away from you." That little boy would go on to perform on the same show a few years later, inspired by Ramon's story. Years passed, but Ramon never forgot where he came from. Every time he returned to the Philippines, he would visit the same street corner where it all began. He would sit there, play his old guitar, and sing Elvis songs for the people who once ignored him. But this time, the crowd around him wasn't small. Cameras, children, fans, and old friends gathered, singing with him. One day, a reporter asked him during an interview, "Ramon, after all your success, what keeps you grounded?" He replied with a smile, "Because I know how it feels to have nothing but a dream. Fame is temporary, but kindness lasts forever." Simon Cowell himself mentioned Ramon in an interview years later, saying, that man had something you can't teach, authenticity. I'll never forget his voice. Back in Manila, Ramon built a small foundation called Dreams with a Voice, dedicated to helping poor Filipino kids get free vocal training. When asked why he chose that name, he said, "Because dreams and voices are free. No one should pay to believe in themselves." During one of his charity events, he was invited to sing again at a Global Talent Reunion special. The organizers wanted to feature him alongside other legendary performers. When he arrived, Simon greeted him warmly, shaking his hand. "Still singing Elvis?" Simon joked. Ramon laughed. "Always, sir. Elvis never dies." When he went on stage that night, he sang, "Can't Help Falling in Love," again, just like the first time. But this time, he wasn't just a street singer anymore, he was an inspiration, a symbol of hope for millions. As he sang, the camera zoomed in on Simon's face. His eyes glistened with pride. When the song ended, Simon stood up once more, clapping with the crowd. Then he said into the microphone, "Ladies and gentlemen, the man who proved that talent doesn't need fame or fortune, just heart." The crowd erupted in cheers. Ramon bowed deeply and whispered, "Thank you." Later, in his quiet hotel room, Ramon looked at his reflection in the mirror and smiled. He remembered the nights he sang to empty streets, the hunger, the rejection, the pain, and how all of it led to this moment. He gently touched his guitar and whispered, "We made it, old friend." The next morning, he received a call from a record producer offering him a global contract. But Ramon politely declined. "I'd rather teach and sing for those who need hope," he said. A few months later, a video went viral online, a familiar scene, a man singing Elvis songs on a busy Manila street. But this time, it wasn't out of poverty. It was Ramon giving back, singing with kids beside him, their laughter blending with the melody. People who passed by took pictures, some even cried. The same street that once ignored him was now filled with admiration. And when one reporter asked him one last time, "What would you say to Elvis if he were alive today?" Ramon chuckled softly and said, "I'd say thank you, for teaching me that you don't have to be rich to touch hearts. You just have to sing from your soul." The story of Ramon Cruz became more than a performance, it became a legacy. Generations of singers remembered him as the man who carried the voice of Elvis but sang with the heart of the Philippines. Every note he sang reminded the world that greatness can rise from the humblest of places. And in every corner where a struggling artist sings for a dream, Ramon's spirit lives on, proof that sometimes, the most powerful voices are the ones born in silence. This is Spread the Smile, bringing you stories that warm hearts, inspire dreams, and remind us that kindness and talent can change the world, one song at a time.